We will now hear from Peyton Frazier, presenting Risen from Prison, Rehabilitating through Aristotelian Habits and Virtue Ethics.
No sunlight, nasty food, nothing to do, no one to see. But even worse than these things is the constant animalistic treatment and brutality of human beings. What am I describing? The American prison system. Day in and day out, there is no hope for prisoners for their improvement. And this puts them in a terrible mental state because of it. But we know as Christians that there's never a point in our lives where we pass the point of no return. So do you want to live in a world of ex-convicts filled with hatred because of how they were treated? Or a world of ex-convicts who reflected on their wrongdoings and made changes because of it? We have all heard of criminals who committed outrageous crimes in their lives and were stuck behind bars because of it. They deserve to be punished, and their victims deserve justice. But justice does not mean they should be kicked to the dirt and left to rot. Justice means they should be in an isolated place to restore their values. But that definition of justice is not seen in our American prison system today. We hear of prisoners who are beaten to death and are injured so badly that they can no longer perform basic human functions. What we do see are people going in and out of prison, committing crimes over and over again, and nothing being done about it. So I propose that rather than the American prison system focusing on punitive rehabilitation, we should invest in rehabilitating prisoners through Aristotle's philosophy of habits and virtue ethics, because it will reduce the recidivism rates and help prisoners transition into society much easier. An inherent part of getting criminals to permanently change their habits is grounded through Aristotle's virtue ethics. We see an example of Aristotelian ethics when prisoners are assigned a specific job to do and when they keep up with their overall education. By doing this, prisoners will have the necessary skills to transition into society. In our daily lives, we see virtue ethics in our routines and our rituals. And going over them over and over again will help us continually improve on them. If offenders are not able to practice good habits, then it is highly unlikely they will be rehabilitated and grow as a person because of it. Building habits in these ways will prepare prisoners to enter into society with a mindset of growth and improvement. Many argue that we must establish justice in prison however officials see fit. This makes sense as these criminals committed crimes and deserve punishment. Fairness and justice are correct, but the focus on rehabilitation must be guided through the concept of justice. Helping prisoners build habits isn't soft treatment, since they go through the pain of isolation, living in bad conditions, and having no freedom for years. Rehabilitation also gives them the chance to receive punishment that is meaningful rather than meaningless. All brutality will do to prisoners is incite feelings of hatred, which will lead to a relapse of committing crimes. If we focus on rehabilitating prisoners, it will build trust with them, which will lead to reduced recidivism rates. Rehabilitation is a two-part effort. The offender must be open to growth and rehabilitation, and the prison officials must be able to provide the necessary instructions to those prisoners. In order to make our society a safer and better place for generations to come, we must use Aristotle's habits and virtue ethics as our guiding principles. Prisoners should not be treated like animals, as no one deserves to be treated like animals. Instead, prisoners deserve to be treated with a focus on encouraging good habits. Smaller facilities would allow for the focus on each and every prisoner's mental health, and this policy is consistent with the goal of prison, justice and rehabilitation. These prisoners are ready to be rehabilitated, but just need the correct means and environment to do so. As one nation, we should be united and provide the best resources to our brothers to help them dig themselves out of the holes they got themselves into. We must be there for one another and support one another through the bad times as much as the good times. Many of these prisoners were not given the privileges you and I had in our lives. For the United States prison system to reduce recidivism rates, they must utilize Aristotle's philosophy of habits and virtue ethics to not only rehabilitate prisoners, but make it an easy transition into society for them. Thank you.